How do you explain reality to a child? What would you say to a person from an isolated tribe who had no knowledge of the outside world? How would we as a species explain reality to an alien visiting from another planet? Do we show them the Bible or the Quran? How will we as a species explain reality at the birthplace of artificial intelligence? What will we say after all this time, thousands of years, and all the blood and ink and breath and tears that have been spent, we still don't have a definitive answer? Is that the best we got? Well, yeah, of course it is. Those who say they know can only say so on the basis of faith, so the truth has always been we don't know. Maybe the best we'll ever be able to do is tell what we know about how we got here. Isn't that what we should do? Isn't that enough? You, me, we are Homo sapiens, the only human species that still exists, and despite our differences, we are all one race. We live on a planet covered in liquid water and teeming with life, the only planet we know like it for as far as we can see or measure. A planet that orbits an average yellow star in an average spiral arm of an average galaxy, completely isolated. Now all this is easy for me to say in the 21st century, but at the beginning of human existence, the people then must have been terrified, for good reason, with no explanation for their lives and constant hardship and trauma. But with awareness came symbolism and language, and from there came stories and warnings and rules, and they were repeated and passed down. And somewhere in there, maybe even at the beginning, humans described something supernatural. Maybe it was at the time of the Lion Man sculpture in Germany 40,000 years ago, or the Neanderthal burial in France 50,000 years ago, or the caves in Africa and Israel 100,000 years ago. It's something we'll never be able to know, but it probably started with the belief in spirits. Animism is the belief in non-human spirits, the spirits of the deer, the lion, the mountain, the moon, the amulet, the sculpture, the crystal, the shiny thing. Then there's human spirits, or the spirits of the dead, the spirits of our ancestors who live in the spirit world. I call it spiritualism. Some say spiritualism is the movement from the 19th century or after World War I, but I think it started when humans first imagined the spirits of the dead. The core concept was there, that everyone has a spirit which lives on after we die. We can communicate with them, and they can do things, usually bad things, in the dark. Something else very important happened, probably the most important one on this list. At some point, somebody decided they were special. They decided they had hidden knowledge or special qualities which allowed them to interpret and manipulate the supernatural. They could talk to spirits and perform rituals. It was the birth of shamanism. The shaman is very important. Every religion has one. They're all called something different, but they perform the same function. Once you have a shaman and spirits, it's a very short jump to the idea of a god, and vice versa. Might have happened all at the same time. And now we have theism, the belief in at least one god. And not just the belief in a god, but that this god or gods intervenes in the world and we can have a relationship with them. The number of gods varies by religion. Some religions have a lot of gods, and some just appear to have a lot, but really only 3, or 2, or 1. Some appear to not have any gods, but really do. While all this was happening, early humans were also taking the first crack at philosophy, and especially dualism. Good and evil, light and dark, mind and body, lost and found, the enlightened and the ignorant. Critical point here, you don't need to be a theist to follow dualism or any philosophy, but you might be. They're not mutually exclusive. It stands to reason that as soon as someone started telling stories about gods, there was someone else who said, yeah, but those are just stories. Naturally, this led to natural philosophy and the Socratic method, which really had been there the whole time, or we wouldn't have mastered fire, or invented the wheel, or beer. That brings us to deism, the belief in a God who created the universe but does not intervene in it. That's an important distinction from theism and a major step away from belief in supernatural events. Deism can be described in different ways. The first is panentheism, pan meaning all, in meaning in, and theism meaning God, all in God. The universe is in God. God is in all things and transcends all things. Next is pantheism, all God, which says reality is God, the universe is God, and also pandeism, the belief God designed the universe and then created it by becoming it. It's probably too late and not important to change now, but to me those last two should be reversed. Speaking of being intellectually lazy and inadequately critical, we have omnism, the recognition and respect of all beliefs. Sounds nice, but a lot of beliefs are incompatible, which has always been the problem. Not quite done though, you might have guessed what's next: the skeptics, the scientific method, the agnostics, and the atheist. Agnostics say that whether or not there is a God is unknowable, and atheists are just people who don't believe in gods. The important thing to note here is regardless of belief or non-belief, you have not replaced any philosophy. You still have altruism and nihilism and narcissism and determinism. All of those feelings about morality and love and beauty are still there. Skeptics are just saying, I don't believe in the supernatural. I need a theory and I need evidence to prove it and be able to use it to predict outcomes. Richard Dawkins' 7-point scale puts agnostics in the middle. On one end is a strong theist, and on the opposite end a strong atheist. In the middle you have weaker and weaker levels of belief or non-belief. And that brings us finally to modern science and philosophy, complex systems and societies, and whether we like it or not, the most awareness we have ever had since we came into existence. Welcome to the History of Reality 101. Think of these first 4 parts as the first day.